This is Michael Popok, and by the looks of things, it's Legal AF After Dark. The New York trial of Donald Trump is not over. We're not even at sentencing yet. Technically, he's not even a convicted felon yet until the judgment is entered against him by the judge, which will be on July 11th. But we've got a jury hoax issue already. We've got gag order issues that have to be resolved. We've got Donald Trump sitting for an interview, including about his mental health, to the probation department in New York as they prepare a sentencing memorandum. We break it all down on Legal AF, the podcast, every Wednesday and Saturday. Take a listen.
Popok, let's talk, though, just so you see, this is what Trump's been sending out, and there's emails like this every day. He's saying, join Trump's war council. I need you on my war council. Biden and the deep state have declared all-out war against me. Here's another one there. They opened fire on MAGA. End the witch hunt. This is from a radical left war machine. Those are the messages that they're sending when it's no. No, you had sex with a porn star. You falsified business records when you made hush money payments. You lied about it. It's a crime. It's a crime that's prosecuted in New York, not infrequently. A jury found you guilty. That's what went down. Washington, D.C., you led an insurrection. You tried to overthrow our democracy. We saw it. We know what went down. Other people have pled guilty already in Georgia for the criminal conduct as being part of that, because your own lawyers have pled guilty in connection with their role. And we all saw what went down there. You stole classified records. You stole our nuclear codes. And your argument isn't, I didn't steal the nuclear codes. Your argument, this is what his main argument is, that he's put in his court filings, that he's allowed to do it because when he was in office, if you're a president or former president, by putting them in boxes and shipping them to your homes, they automatically become your own personal property. That's his argument, that our nuclear codes, they actually belong to him. And he has a whole political party. The Republicans are like, yeah, those are his personal nuclear codes. And we're all sitting here in the Law and Order Legal AF community. What do you mean those are his nuclear codes? Those aren't his nuclear codes. Those aren't his war plans. It's not Obama's war plans. It's not Clinton's war. It's not George W. Bush. That doesn't belong to them. They are temporary holders of an office where they take an oath to protect our democracy. What are you talking about? It's not lawfare. We know what happened. Here's the latest from the New York trial. This is where I said this reminds very reminiscent, Popok, of the election, right? They throw out everything to try to discredit it. The event happens. They lose. And then they go into the next tier, which is that it's all rigged. You come up with your conspiracies, your 2,000 mules or whatever the heck it's called. And that, by the way, there was a retraction there like 3 years later from Salem saying that, yes, we lied about that. This is all false. Too little, too late, as that's being used and everything. But this is just the jury verdict version of the election, right? This is what they do. And now you'll have 1,000 conspiracies. Everything's rigged. Everything's one big plot. So Justice Merchan posted, today the court became aware of a comment. This was posted on Friday. That was posted on the Unified Court System's public Facebook page, which I now bring to your attention. In the comment, the user, Michael Anderson, states, my cousin is a juror and says Trump is getting convicted. Thank you, folks, for all your hard work. The comment, now labeled as 1 week old, responded to a routine UCS notice posted on May 29, 2024, regarding oral arguments in the 4th Department of the Appellate Division unrelated to this proceeding. The posting entitled the Appellate Division, 4th Department, will hear oral arguments the morning at 10. So just a random post, had nothing to do with this case, on the New York court system's website. Michael Anderson, if that's probably not even the name of the person, posted that. You see the post right there. The photo of like Michael Anderson is Gigi Allen, who's the deceased musician who like defecated on stage. And so the whole thing is a ruse and a prank. And then this account said, yes, it's a prank. I'm a shit poster. The account says I'm a professional shit poster, and then the person goes, "Take it easy." Let's just pull that up. Take it easy. I'm a professional shit poster. In internet culture, shit posting or trash posting is the act of using an online forum or social media page to post content that is of aggressive, ironically, and trollishly poor quality. We identified like dozens of other times where this individual had made posts like this before, but nonetheless, this is what MAGA is using right now and saying mistrial, it was rigged. Look, some rando said, and by the way, it'd be one thing if Cat Turd, this right-wing influencer account, was just like some random account. This is the most influential Republican account, one of the most influential Republican influencer accounts. Then all the other Republicans start posting it, and Fox starts posting it, and then Donald Trump at like 1:30 a.m. in the morning posts mistrial. And so this is what they're running with now, that quite literally some internet troll made a random post or a random internet troll made a malicious post on the New York website. And so they're going with that now. And the thing, Popok, is in normal times, we'd all just be like, this is ridiculous, and then move on. Like that's how this would normally go down. We're in a different time where, look, Justice Merchan did the right thing by bringing that to people's attention so we wouldn't be accused of, like, what if that was being planted by MAGA so Justice Merchan does not bring it up, and then they use the fact that Merchan doesn't tell the parties as a way to try to get a mistrial. So Merchan did his job, but now you have all of the MAGAs saying, look, it's rigged. Some random person made that post. Who, damn the facts, full speed ahead. Popok, what do you make of this?
Oh, there's a lot there to unpack, and things that we'll continue to talk about this segment in the New York trial. I took a couple of notes while you were doing your analysis. One, the posting by Donald Trump where he said, "They made me a convicted felon." Think about the sentence structure there. They made me a convicted felon, as opposed to I was found guilty for my criminal conduct by a impartial and fair jury in New York after a 2-year process and a 6-week trial. I love that. The other one, we posted the Cat Turd. Not only is that an influential MAGA, whatever it is, it's actually got a blue check mark from X, this is the world that we live in now. I don't even think I have a blue check. Maybe I have a blue check mark, but I think that's amazing. The jury hoax thing has to be taken seriously by Judge Merchan, as you just said. This is not ripped out of the movie plots. Just a week ago, in a federal case involving the theft of COVID funds totaling $50 million, a juror during jury deliberation had a $125,000 bribe delivered to their house in cash. And the judge there had to deal with that. So jury influence and jury tampering is not just things of Hollywood creation. It happens. It just happened in a federal case. P.S. on that, the judge figured out a way to separate the jury, protect the jury, let them complete their deliberations, and all 5 defendants were convicted. But this happens, and it's not up to Judge Merchan and his team, who are already fending off with the Department of Public Safety in New York death threats, which have escalated. That's the thing we haven't talked about here. We've talked about it, but just not at this moment. This lawfare, rigged mistrial is also followed by right-wing, not even dark web comments: hang the judge, assassinate the judge, kill the judge and his family and everybody associated with it, because that goes on in the echo chamber of MAGA, because that's disgusting. And that just rips the mask off that they are a legitimate political First Amendment party. They are not. They have pinned their hopes and dreams of anybody that is legitimate within the Republican Party to this MAGA wing that is a violent cult. And every week it's like flavor of the week. Last week it was Merchan gave the wrong jury instructions because he allowed the jury to to pick like a Chinese menu from column A or column B about which crime was being facilitated by the business record fraud. No, he gave an appropriate business record fraud in furtherance of a second crime instruction to the jury under New York law where I practice, and it will be upheld. And I'm just, for those that cross over and watch our episodes, I'm telling you straight here, listen to me. Come to the light. Okay. It is going to be upheld by all appellate courts in New York. I saw a poll, Ben, that 55 or 60% of MAGA thought there was no way Donald Trump was going to be convicted. And they were shocked when he was, because they're not following the trial the way we are in our audiences. They're not using their critical lens the way we are. They don't know about the evidence that's being presented. They don't know what the jury is receiving in terms of information and analysis. And instead, they rely on Donald Trump saying, I was convicted by a rigged election, a kangaroo court. The jury wouldn't even smile at me. Right. Because you're not liked. B, your lawyers were acting out in court on a regular basis at your instruction, and your defenses were ridiculous. And that's why the jury, who was charged to their civic duty, which is what they did. We all want to live in a world where there's a defense, even one as strange as Donald Trump's, and there is a jury, and it's public, and there is a result. You may not like the result, but you accept the result. Just as you said frequently on this network and during our own podcast, we were prepared to accept the result of the jury, right? We had a lot of nervous energy and hearts in our throats waiting when we heard the jury hit the buzzer twice, the verdict is in. We were like, oh shit. Not because we thought the fix was in. All right, let's do that. If the fix was in and this was rigged, right? And we're pro-democracy, so we're on the other side of MAGA. Why would we have been upset? We would have been popping champagne as soon as we heard the two buzzers, because we would have been like, of course, here comes the guilty verdict. That's not what we were feeling. All the lawyers on this network, including those that are contributors to Legal AF, were like, oh crap, I wonder what's going to happen here, because, there is some great evidence that was presented, and I think it's beyond a reasonable doubt, but I'm not the jury. And the jury's going to have to make their decision. So when the jury verdict came in, it was a relief because we thought justice was done. But if the jury came back and said, listen, mistrial, hung jury, and/or he's exonerated, we'd be like, okay, it's not exactly what we wanted, but we accept outcomes of our legitimate institutions in America, no matter what they are. The judge did the right thing on the whole hoax thing. The gag order, to pick up there, is still in play, as you and I talked about in right after the conviction came out. All the conditions of release are still in play because he hasn't been sentenced yet. And the appeal process is also part of the criminal justice system. And the judge is responsible for fairly administering the justice system. Blanche, the human mannequin that she referred to, he writes a letter along with his colleague, his associate, in which, and they, by the way, conspicuously absent is Susan Necklace, who practices law regularly in New York and apparently does not want to have anything to do with this. This reminds me when Joe Tacopina used to let Alina Habba file everything that he didn't believe in. Whenever you and I would see a Alina Habba filing without Joe Tacopina, we knew this was going to be complete and utter bullshit. And it was going to be rejected quickly. Same thing here. No Susan Necklace. She didn't even CC'd. Susan Necklace, the co-trial counsel, not even CC'd on this. So Blanche and Emile Beauvais, his associate, write in and say to the judge, it's over. He lost. We think he should have won, but he lost. And we think he should be sentenced to probation. But in the meantime, he has a First Amendment right, and he gets to go out there, and he's got a debate coming up on the 27th of June, and you got to remove all of this. The trial's over. And the prosecutors write in to the judge and say, what are they talking about? There's still the administration of justice that needs to be preserved by you. That's the focus of the gag order. Nothing's changed. It's gotten worse. And now the judge is going to set that briefing schedule and have that hearing or make a ruling on it. But I believe he's going to keep most of this gag order in place, especially when he is the subject, despite all this, he's the subject of tremendous violent rhetoric against himself, his staff, and others. And Donald Trump has shown that he has, as Mershon once said in the courtroom, a no self-restraint. And so he can't trust him to do the right thing. So he has to regulate. We still have the criminal contempt proceedings that are not yet concluded. The judge hasn't made his rulings about all those things, whether how he's going to find him in contempt, whether he's going to find him in contempt, and all of that. So all of that is still in the mix. And lastly, before I kick it back to you, I thought the judge bent over backwards on the probation interview that has to happen. For those that, so we don't talk in complete shorthand here, have a little Patreon breakout session. The sentencing, whether state or federal, requires that there be a independent department. It's usually probation or pretrial services, depending upon which system you're in, that prepares a report to the judge. Usually has a range of sentences that may be recommended. In federal, it's off the federal sentencing guidelines. In state, it's like, all right, here's the 8,000 false record cases. This is how many people got sentences. This is the range of their sentences, just so the judge has that information. And then details about the individual who just got convicted, including his mental health. That's going to be an interesting interview. His social media, again, and his finances. Not great right now. Have you ever been convicted of, have you ever been adjudged to have committed fraud? Yes. How much do you owe? $465 million. Have you ever had a case against you related to violent sexual crime? Yes. How did that go? Not well. $100 million judgment that I haven't paid yet. This is the type of, it's not, we're New Yorkers, so we sort of know Trump, but they still got to check the box and ask the questions. So the judge is allowing, unlike in most cases, is allowing Blanche, the lawyer, to go in to this interview. I don't think it changes the outcome, but it'll give Blanche the opportunity to go out and, I guess, complain about it, and Trump to complain about it. But there's going to be a report, and the prosecutors are going to prepare a report, and the defense can prepare a report. But the ultimate arbiter for deciding what happens on July the 11th, for the sentence, whether it's probation or no punishment at all on one end of the extreme, or up to 20 years in jail on the other, is somebody named Juan Merchan, who is the only judge with broad discretion to set this sentence. Now, once he sets the sentence, if it has any kind of jail time component to it, whether he defers having him report for his sentence until after an appeal process, which is sort of likely. So I don't think he goes in before the November election, even if he is sentenced to jail time. And all of those factors, that whole thing, the conviction by the jury, the decisions made by the judge within his discretion in administrating the jury process, and the rules, the decisions he made about evidence, and the decisions he made about all sorts of motion practice during this thing, along with the sentence, goes together in whatever appeal Donald Trump is going to take first to the court, the First Department Appellate Division, New York, first stop on the train, and then Court of Appeals. And then lastly, there is no Supreme Court here, U.S. Supreme Court here for Donald Trump. There's no writ of habeas corpus to jump over. It's just a garden variety fraud conviction, as you'll talk about when I kick it back to you on Jim Jordan. This is a garden variety, a convicted felon for business record fraud in New York. It has nothing to do with the federal process, constitutional law, or Congress.
I was just reflecting on what that sentencing memo is going to look like from the prosecutors, from pointing out Donald Trump. It'll be the most devastating sentencing memorandum ever submitted, short of a murder case. I mean, it'll certainly be the most devastating sentencing memorandum ever in a white collar kind of falsification case, where you go through the background of an individual. Have they been found criminally responsible in other settings? Yes. The Trump Organization has been determined to be a felon. Donald Trump leads that. Have they been determined to be a fraudulent enterprise or a fraud? Yes. Donald Trump was just found liable for civil fraud. To your point, Michael, was he found liable for sexual assault or any violent types of crimes like that? Well, he was found liable, at least in a civil case, for sexual assault and for defamation. How is he showing any form of remorse, taking accountability? Absolutely not. What's he doing? Sending out messages about people joining the war council and attacking the judge's daughter. I mean, they're going to show in that sentencing memo hundreds of examples where Donald Trump's attacked the judge's daughter, attacked the prosecutors, and they're going to not just talk about the trial. They're going to talk about before the indictment, right around when the indictment was handed down, when Donald Trump took the baseball bat to
That's
Alvin
a very
Braggs'
good
head
point.
in the photo.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but all that stuff, Ben, that Donald Trump feared would come into the courtroom if he testified, including all of the cross-examination material that the judge said that the prosecutors could use if Donald Trump took the stand, may not have been fair game to be introduced to the jury without Donald Trump's testimony. But the probation department will, as you just outlined, will be able to use all of that against him. As you outlined all of that, I thought about it's like an NBA star. He just fills up all the boxes. I mean, his stats are just outstanding. You're like you said, we can't wait to get our hands on this report. We should be able to.
I would not be surprised if Donald Trump refuses to answer the questions. And I think part of having Todd Blanche show up that way is to refuse to answer the standard questions that everybody has to answer at an interview like that. You'll replay this episode, and we're going to call it here first. I would say that he's not going to respond to most of the questions, and he's going to try to pull some stunt there. That's why he wants Blanche there. Nothing that he does is in good faith. And then when he gets a significant sentence, and one of the factors is going to be his failure to cooperate with the probation department in their interview, then all of MAGA is going to come back and they're going to go, oh, it's rigged and it was unfair. Watch for that stunt that they're going to pull. He's very, very, very predictable.
Welcome back. That was Ben Meiselas and me on Saturdays with a weekend wrap up of all things at the intersection of law and politics. We sit at that intersection as practicing lawyers, talking to you about things we know what we're talking about so that you don't have to. We hopefully do it in an entertaining yet informative, educational way. And so if you know all about Legal AF and you're already part of our audience and growing for the last 4 years, we really appreciate you being here for the ride. If you don't know about us, that was Legal AF, and we invite you to join us for our next Wednesday, Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, YouTube, if you want to see it live or on video or on all major podcast platforms. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.